One of our favorite sponsors is back with us, Sunset Lake CBD.
Yeah.
If you're looking for CBD that actually does what CBD is supposed to do, look no further than our friends over at Sunset Lake.
Let me break it down.
Break it down, Mel.
They're sustainably farmed, meaning they avoid pesticides and use sustainable farming practices to preserve the land for future generations. 1. 2, farm to table. They ship the CBD products straight from their door in Vermont directly to your door wherever you're at.
Now that's cool.
And third party tested. They test everything with a third party to ensure quality, dosage, and safety.
You got to go over and check out sunsetlakecbd.com. They have so many products. Break it down for them, Apple.
Well, they've got some new stuff going on. Like they always had pre-rolls, but now they got really cool packaging for it. And you can get CBD pre-roll flights of all their flavors. You can get the heavy hitter flight that also throws in some of their Keef blunts. They have a new CBD recovery body lotion.
I'm excited about that.
Mm-hmm.
And what was the other?
The other one with arnica.
The extra strength muscle rub, 3,000 milligram with 5% lidocaine.
So look,
Oh, yeah,
if you're
lidocaine.
sore, this is the stuff you want to rub on your body to make those aches and pains go away. They even have CBD infused coffee, so you can have coffee without the little jitter that you get from caffeine, and you have it in the morning and you start your day off right. Your body feels lubricated. You're going to sleep good.
Yeah, and also they have, if you kind of forget to reorder, they've got subscriptions.
And they're giving the No Simple Road family 20% off.
20% off.
Put
with
in the promo code NSR20 when you're checking out at sunsetlakecbd.com. You're going to get 20% off your entire order.
NSR20.
And don't forget those cute little gummy bears.
That's right. sunsetlakecbd.com, one of our favorite sponsors, is back.
Hey everyone, Chris Pandolfi from the infamous String Dusters here to let you know that my podcast, Inside the Musician's Brain, is back on the airwaves for Season 4, which means it's time once again to get deep with influential musicians from all across the musical landscape to really understand and translate the lessons of success, failure, inspiration, and hard work that are behind the music and the artists that we love. My guests this season include Rachel Price from Lake Street Dives, Sam Bush, Chris Wood, Chris Funk from The Decemberists, Lindsay Liu, MC Taylor from His Golden Messenger, and more. Check us out, and thanks for listening.
We're so excited to tell you a bit about today's sponsor, Music Masters Collective. They are a nonprofit organization that produces unique music events, providing opportunities for fans and artists to meet and collaborate in an inspired and creative atmosphere.
Music Masters Collective events give you the opportunity to learn from world-class musicians like Otil Burbridge, Steve Earle, Richard Thompson, former members of the band, the Milk Carton Kids, Nikki Glaspie, the Fab Four, and Sean Colvin, and so many more.
At an event like the Milk Carton Kids Sad Song Summer Camp happening this July, you can expect immersive classes, evenings of entertainment, excellent food, and a space for a lucky group of folks to learn, co-write, workshop, and perform with like-minded peers, all with the guidance of Kenneth Pattengale, Joey Ryan, and some of their favorite songwriters. This all-inclusive week in the Catskill Mountains of upstate New York is guaranteed to be magical. Scholarships are available and spots are extremely limited, so visit www.sadsongsummercamp.com/simple to learn more. That's www.sadsongsummercamp.com/simple. Check it out. This episode of No Simple Road is sponsored by
Shop Tour Bus.
Yay!
I don't even think I said the whole thing. I just went Shop Tour.
Why are you petering out?
Head over to @ShopTourBus on Instagram or shoptourbus.com online. Pick yourself up something cool. It's the holidays, and you should be buying presents for somebody else, not yourself. Well,
I guess you
Get
can buy
something-
stuff for
get
yourself.
something
Hard not
for
to buy
yourself,
stuff
too.
For yourself when you're out shopping and seeing all these.
You should
cool
get yourself
things.
something little, at least.
Well,
a lot of
it-
people don't like doing things for themselves. You're the one I'm talking to. Some people have no problem with it. You're fine. But the people who do, buy yourself a nice shop tour bus.
Yeah, they got these Eyes of the World short and long sleeves on deck. They got the St. Stephen design. They got hoodies and short sleeves. They got
the Franklin's Tower shirt, which is my personal favorite design they've done.
the Steal Your Tape going on. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, if I'm talking about designs and you're like, what do those look like? You can see all of them at shoptourbus.com online. And they will send this stuff to your house for free.
How do you get
Because
it for
you-
free?
Wait, does
Huh?
everyone
How do
get
you
free?
get it for free?
Yeah.
Well,
Go ahead, Mel. Tell them.
if you punch in the code nosimpleroad at checkout after you place your order, they're going to deliver your goods for free.
That's tight.
And you know what? Like, it is Christmas time and you are buying gifts. And if this is one of those last minute things that you're picking up for somebody, you can put in the notes at checkout what you want written on the inside of your personalized hand designed one of a kind box.
Merry Christmas.
Or
Enjoy
you
your
could tell
shirt.
them to put a little note in there and they will do so, along with
A bootleg.
A pencil.
stickers.
cool stuff.
Sometimes
Gigas, Hisker
articles,
Doos.
pictures that's
Maybe
rolled up in
sometimes
with their
candy.
magical special twine.
Mm-hmm. So, you know what? Don't worry. We got you covered. Go to Shop Tour Bus and pick yourself up, or that person that you don't know what to get something, get them this. And they will be stoked. And you'll get free shipping by putting in the promo code nosimpleroad. And
And they will forever have the coolest box. I think all of us use her. I love my box. My box is sitting there where I see it every day.
It's my trinkets
perfect.
box.
mine
Yeah.
too. Yep.
Yeah, they're great. They're awesome.
And it's my
boxes.
upcoming
It's-
concert ticket box. That's where the upcoming concert tickets go.
That's a good spot for that.
Yeah.
What about after you see the concert?
Then they're supposed to go in a wooden box that's up on top of the shelf in our room that I can't reach without the ladder. So they're all just piled in an envelope in my drawer.
That's a good place for that.
So anyway, the point is,
Visit
go to
ShopTourBus.
shoptourbus.com and get
More than you bargained for.
More.
Hey.
Wow.
Hey.
What's up?
Whoa. Hey, that was a, like.
What
that was-
it do?
Hacha. That was like an intersection. We all pulled up to and looked at each other. So
One of our
hey,
wonderful sponsors,
is who?
Define Premium Cannabis,
Define.
with 2 locations.
One in Hillsboro,
one in Forest Grove.
and I don't know what else to say.
Well, I'll
Except
tell
that
you
they
what.
have the best cannabis products in the entire state of
One would
Oregon.
even say premium.
Premium.
One would say
It's,
that.
it's in the name.
Yeah.
It is in the
A
name.
variety of premium cannabis products.
And you know what? It isn't just lip service. It's not just a name. I live with the dude that buys the supplies.
Oh, so do I. That's weird.
It's weird, right?
So do I.
So I get to sample the wares from Define Premium Cannabis quite often, and I have to tell all of you out there that it is not just a name. It is a real thing. And if you go in there and you're like me and you're overwhelmed when you walk into a dispensary, they are going to take the time to explain to you what's going on, to help match the product that fits your need, and they are going to care about what you walk out the door with. And
Guess what else?
what else?
I'm that dude you guys live with.
Whoa!
That works at Define.
That does
So,
make sense.
check
adds
it
up
out.
now.
Check
If you-
what out?
If you come out to either location, Define at Hillsboro or Forest Grove, you mention that you listen to the show. If you come to Hillsboro, I'll come out and I'll take care of you Monday through Friday. If not, make sure you mention you listen and you will get 10% off your purchase and you will get what, Ryder?
I backed away from the
Thank you for
microphone
backing
on
up.
that one.
Wow, yeah. Thank you.
So-
Listeners are thanking you.
You know what, you guys? There's a lot of choices here in Portland for your cannabis needs, and we won't have people that we don't believe in sponsor the show.
Well,
We won't.
Yeah.
And so I just want all you guys out there to know that just because Apple works there that is not the only reason that Define
No,
sponsors
it's
No
because
Simple
they're
Road.
bomb.
It's because their shit is top notch. So take a minute, head out to Hillsboro or Forest Grove. Tell them you listen to No Simple Road. Get 10% off your purchase. Get your free T-shirt and take care
Of your head.
We are part of the Osiris Podcast Network, and there's a lot going on. I think that a lot of people feel like Osiris is this established brand. And what I think a lot of people don't realize is that Osiris and No Simple Road are kind of the same age. You know?
Yeah.
Like
Very close
we've
to
been
it.
around
We're-
the same amount of time. And so Osiris is growing, and they are continually doing bigger and better stuff. And there's a few new podcasts I want to tell you guys about. The first one is called Let Creativity Flow, and it's sponsored by Splice, and it's like a 3-episode series, and explores the evolution of music and technology through the eyes of the artists, some music industry professionals, some entrepreneurs, and journalists. And it kind of like explores the fall of industry gatekeepers like record labels, and how musicians use technology to create hits, and the future of music creation and collaboration. It features interviews with John Barber and Aaron Magner of the Disco Biscuits, Steve Martosi of Splice, Andy Weissman of Union Square Ventures, and a bunch more. So if you want to check that out, you can go to osirispod.com/creativity to check it out. And the first show premiered on November the 18th. So those are all out now. And then the next one is After Midnight. And the 4th episode came out on 12/12. And this podcast is centered around the 20th anniversary of Phish's Big Cypress Festival. And that, if you're not familiar with that, that's where the band like actually built a city for 80,000 people in the Everglades in Florida. It's fucking crazy, dude. They shut the highway system down, basically. It has interviews with Trey and John and a bunch of the fans, and it's just awesome. So check that out at osirispod.com/after midnight. And then the last one I want to tell you guys about is Freak Flag Flying. Say that 10 times fast. Don't do it, Ryder.
Yeah, he's gonna. You know he's gonna do it.
The trailer comes out this Thursday. Is that this Thursday? 12/19. Is that this
Yep.
Thursday?
Yeah, it's this
My
Thursday.
mom's
Comes out.
birthday.
Yep. And this is check this out. I'll just read the copy to you guys. It's really cool. David Crosby is one of the most enduring and colorful figures in rock music. We wanted you to know about this new podcast, Freak Flag Flying, which features David in conversation with his friend and author Steve Silberman. The new interviews cover everything from David's earliest musical relationships with legendary peers like Bob Dylan, Jerry Garcia, Jefferson Airplane, and Steely Dan, and his years with Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Young. The limited series from Osiris launches on Monday, January 6th, but you can listen to the trailer and subscribe now at osirispod.com/freak flag. /fleek flag.
That made it even
Forward
work.
flag.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, man. So a lot of really cool stuff going on. And then also, I don't know if you guys follow us on Instagram, I posted in our story and on our page a couple of times about Jam Just Happened. And that is a live thing that's going to be happening every so often, where different musicians are getting together that don't normally play together, and they're going to jam and do a podcast.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, so that's really cool, and that's going to be happening. So keep your eyes peeled for that, and follow all the other amazing podcasts on the Osiris Podcast Network.
No simple road. No simple road. No simple road. No simple road.
Osiris.
The Helping Friendly podcast explores the music and fan experience of Phish through interviews and deep dives on shows and tours.
And Quick Hits, a review of every show of the tour the next day with someone who was there. We started HF Pod in 2013 to bring the fan voice into the discussion. We're 6 years in, and with the help of our guests, we're still discovering new angles of appreciation for the band we all love.
Whether you're new to Fish or you've been listening for years, we think you'll find something to enjoy on HF Pod.
Search for the Helping Friendly Podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Or find us on the web at hfpod.com.
Sing it, Ryder.
Are we recording? Because if
Yeah.
we're
That's a
recording,
good
I don't
original
wanna
Christmas
sing
song.
It because
Yeah,
then we
it's
might get
actually
dinged.
it's actually recording this time, and you can sing whatever you want. You're allowed.
We might get dinged.
It's okay. Hey, now, No Simple Road
Lawsuit.
family. This is take 2 of the intro. We were
Oh,
really
shit.
we were really doing good there too.
Wow.
And, well, stuff happens. This week's guest is Noah Lampert.
Oh, we're starting all the
Yeah,
way.
we gotta do the
Noah.
whole way.
All the way back to the beginning.
Wow.
Yeah,
Noah.
that happened. Noah. So, you know what, you guys, if you haven't checked out the Synchronicity podcast, you need to go give it a listen. It is one of the shows that I've been listening to quite a bit lately, and it has had a profound effect on my day-to-day. That's why we got Noah on the show, and I think you guys are going to be really, really happy with the conversation that came out of all of us getting together and hanging out for a little while. But you know how this works. Before we do that, we got to do this. So we're doing this. How's everybody doing now that we're here? We were okay. So this is what happened. We were in the middle of recording the intro, and 2 of the tracks didn't come through, and we were having a really great conversation about gratitude.
So why don't you take it off first?
Okay,
The
so-
question was that Aaron asked originally was, name one highlight of the year that
Pops out.
There's a million of them, but which is the first one that jumps out at you?
So I'm going to give the same answer I gave
We probably should.
a minute and a half ago. But for me, the first one that popped into my head was Skull and Roses Festival. Becoming that was the first time that we were the official podcast of anything. And being the official podcast of that particular festival meant so much to me personally and us as a show because of who I am and who we are, and that
Our roots.
Yeah, and that thing recognizing us and me and taking us to the inside of it and allowing us to use our creativity and our time and our talent to make that thing more special than it already was a huge milestone for us. And it started a whole thing. It started Northwest String Summit and Summer Meltdown and all the stuff that's going to happen in 2020. And we met so many wonderful people there. We finally got to hang out with Claire and, Rubenowski and Delaney and Company and Roth and Ash and the Higgs and Alpine Camp and on and on.
Yeah, that was
all the stuff that happened there was stellar. And it was in April of this year, which seems like 25 years ago.
Mind.
But it was this huge thing that started 2019 on this really good foot.
The good foot.
And we started 2019 at Railroad Earth.
That was amazing.
And then shortly after that, we were at Terrapin.
Oh yeah, Terrapin.
And then
I forgot
was
about that too.
a whole
And then
thing
love you down.
And Love You Down. Like, yeah.
Whoa.
So, Ryder, what about your
Mine
your highlight?
was and is still the entire weekend of the wedding.
So fun.
I love traveling in general, and I got to travel on my own plane, which sounds mean, but I don't like traveling in groups of people. I love traveling by myself.
yourself.
It was very nice.
We talked about that.
We
I
did.
get that. It is chill. There's nothing
We love you,
else.
man. I get it.
Yeah, I like.
Yeah, there's no one.
There's
I don't
no
know. There's
offense.
just
We
you.
all live together.
Whatever,
We can
I'm not
spend
flying with you
2
ever
hours
again.
away.
And then immediately the wedding was the next day, and I got to go. I spent the whole day with my sisters, and we went and picked up my Aunt Allie, your sister, and then we spent the whole wedding together. And like I said earlier, I'd never given a speech at a wedding before, and that was scary and fun.
I
and
wish you
nice.
guys could see it.
You're Sid's official big brother.
I'm a lot of people's unofficial.
Yeah,
official.
Simon's too, and it was really cool to see you
Even
and Simon up there
Yeah.
giving a speech to Sid.
was really
and
nice.
Yeah, it was
even though
awesome.
you're my nephew, you're sometimes my big brother too.
I got the big brother vibes.
Yeah,
You
man.
do.
Mel, your turn, baby.
Mine was going to Austin for my birthday and spending time with my baby Jaspy and being there for Sid while she killed it on her photo shoot and just spending time in a city. And what I said before we had to record it was, you know, Sydney and I had years ago this whole like, you know, dream of when she made it big, or, you know, when she started like working and making good money, that, you know, I'd fly out to wherever she was at and watch the baby. Like there was no baby before, but we just like made up this whole scenario. And when I got there, I realized like, holy shit, this is like the first night that I was there, me and Sydney talked in bed till like almost like 1 a.m. and she had to like get ready and, you know, like, Mom, I got to go to sleep. can't have puffy eyes in the morning.
Shut up.
But we were both like just so excited to see each other, and just the wedding was very short, you know, time after that. And so there was so much like going on. And it, to me, what I realized was I'm not like working toward a better life. I'm living this great life. And so that was my whole like thought process.
Realization.
Yeah,
that
because
you've already manifested the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not wishing for my dream to come true. I'm living my dream and realizing it.
Oh.
And it was powerful. It was a fucking powerful moment. And then just walking around Austin with a baby in a freaking pouch with him talking, and he got a song sang to him by a busker out in front of Triple Z Records, which Buzz gave you that Sasquatch shirt from. Like,
Yeah.
there was so many things that drew me to the show, that drew me back home. And then I've got my grandson. Like, it was my most proud moment with no one watching.
That's rad, babe.
Well, except for him, he's such a
Well,
and
exactly.
he is such a like active child. Like the
Yes, he
way,
is.
way he looks at everything.
He's amazing.
Something else.
We can't
So,
forget
yeah.
can't forget you, Apple.
Oh,
What
we're
was yours?
getting there. We're lingering there.
Oh, I really appreciate when you guys let me have dinner last week.
That's cool. All right. So anyway,
Never again.
that was it.
Oh no. Okay. First of all, I gotta add a cliff note to his real quick. We all say the wedding, but I had one of the funnest times this year I've ever had with Ryder. Me and Ryder have had a lot of fun times at the wedding when he was dressed like the devil and I was Santa Claus. And
That was a sight for sore eyes, guys.
We imbibed quite a bit
Yes,
that
we
night,
did.
like everybody on the libations, and we're having a good time. And that
We
was
were-
so
we were getting-
so fun.
We were getting rowdy before.
Yeah,
the
we're
drinks
getting
came
rowdy
out.
at the church because everybody's wanted to take their pictures with Satan and Santa.
Of course they did.
So anyway, I said mine earlier was my mom and my nephew coming to visit for Thanksgiving this year. I hadn't seen either of them in
Shout out
two
Joy
years,
and Will.
2 years plus. Yeah. And they drove all the way up here from Fresno. That's what was so sweet too, is that William
From where, Fred?
from the Fresno area.
From Fred.
Yeah.
We call it Fred here for
Sorry,
short.
I trailed off from Fresno, and it was really sweet because my nephew wanted to spend time with my mom. So they had a nice long trip together. Came up here, spent a week, and we just had a great time. And
It was a great time.
my family here was all part of that. They felt so. They both said it was the best Thanksgiving they've had
That's awesome, dude.
in a long time, because they don't get that a lot either. The whole home cooked thing, family
you know,
sitting down.
It was a great dinner that night.
Say what you will about, psychedelic family and the lifestyle that we live and all that. For what the perception of those type of people, like from the outside looking at us, have a perception of what we are, how we do things. We really do some very traditional stuff.
Oh yeah, we have a very homey home.
Yes,
very
man.
welcome tradition. Yeah.
Like,
I don't think anybody.
there's a perception.
Who?
Like,
From
If we
where?
let them look, nobody says it's going to
yeah,
see.
we all
Nobody
are
can see
normal
us.
people.
Ain't
Like
looking.
we
We're
look
hiding. We're
very
hiding
normal
up
from
here.
here. We don't have like
when
crazy piercings or
when
face tattoos.
People at
or,
work or
which
just,
I love,
just
by
on
the
the
way.
street, like they see video of the crowd at a Fish show or a shakedown street.
Yeah.
Not necessarily it's us.
You just,
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
talking
trying to
about
understand
I'm
where-
saying
Community, like,
the wider us,
yes,
the greater
people
we.
who take like, they take psychedelics.
Yeah.
They're weird,
Capital
they're
U.
crazy.
Exactly.
You go hang out with them, it's gonna be all weird. And
Yeah, no, man. And I think that what your mom, my mom, your sister, your nephew, Apple, what they experience when they come up here that affects them is love.
yeah,
It's love. It's a real, like, in this house, there is a tangible feeling of love. You said it today. You were like, you and I were talking about, I driving home, I had a headache and I didn't feel good. But then, I get home and I'm like, oh, this is where my people are. And I get to like let my hair down for a night until I got to go back out into the world tomorrow and I'm safe here.
yeah.
I think that's the thing. And I think that's a misconception that the outside world has about this community.
Scene,
yeah. Is that, we're all dropping acid every night and snorting lines of cocaine off of hookers. You know what I mean? And
Well, we
that's
have
not
those
what's
things,
going
but we
on.
also have family dinner.
We do. That has, yes. But, and also the reason that I brought up the gratitude thing is not just because of the time of the year, because this is an introspective time right now. Always around New Year's, you get introspective about the whole year that just passed and think back over the milestones, the good, the bad, and all the stuff that happened. But for me, lately, I've really realized the importance of being grateful for what's happening right now. I used to be the kind of person that was always looking forward or needed something to look forward to.
We all were.
Yeah.
That's what Malik was just talking about too at the thing in Austin. Like when you realize, like, holy shit, I'm living. I need to slow down and live my life and quit worrying about the planning and the expectations. And that's when you're truly there.
And
Well-
go ahead, babe.
Well, I was just going to say, when we were a younger couple, like a lot younger, and I can't remember if it was like after you'd come back from rehab or there was like around that time. And I remember us having
Which
a
time?
conversation.
Anyway.
I don't know which time. But then we were having a conversation about how, and you were like so like adamant, like I have to have something to look forward to. Like I have to, like you were like drawing a line in the sand. You're like talking about like, I think we were talking about like a vacation or something, like, and there was nothing like to think about or nothing going forward.
We were living.
Yeah, we were
Gotta
just
be a fix.
yeah, we were having some normal life. Like we work and we get paid and we
have
plan,
kids
yeah,
and we're doing
yeah.
our thing. Yeah.
And it used to frustrate me so bad because I'm like, what the fuck? Like, you've got a bomb wife, you've got a bomb place, you've got a good job. Like, what more do you want? And it was a huge source of contention for me earlier in our marriage.
Yeah, years ago.
Yeah. And then seeing you grow out of it, I mean, you still are very much forward thinking, but your behavior is much more present.
Yeah. I realized.
And I appreciate it.
Thanks. We were at a Phil and Friends show at the Brooklyn Bowl in Vegas I'm being Jake right now, in 2015. And I had been looking forward to the show. We were talking about moving at that time. I was looking forward to moving and we were tripping, and I was in the middle of the trip in the second set of the show. I was super high and out there and I thought to myself, you're always looking forward to the next thing and you're missing the thing that's happening while it's happening because you're sad that it's already almost over.
We had that at Fish or something?
No,
Not
this
Fish.
was at Phil in I'm talking about that and
Was that? I thought it was here.
no.
Okay, sorry.
And it really, like, it was a huge realization for me in the middle of the show. Like, I've been missing everything that's happening because I'm sad that it's already over and there's not the next thing to look forward to, and I'm not even experiencing
the thing you were looking
the thing I was
the
looking
whole
forward
time.
to the whole
You know
fucking
what?
time.
Yeah.
That reminds me of somebody we interviewed on the show.
What?
Oh, your dad.
Oh,
What?
shit.
I'm being a smartass. Your dad said the exact same thing you did when he
That's
was talking.
true. Yes, he
when
did.
we asked him about, did you enjoy that show? He's like, as soon as I finished producing it, as soon as that show started, I was already
Thinking
I had
about the
no time
next
to think
one.
about it. I was thinking about
Yep.
the next one. I took no time to enjoy it.
Holy shit,
Yeah.
dude.
Wow.
We are our fathers.
We need to go back and listen to that, babe.
Wow.
Boom. That just hit me like I almost felt like I was looking at your dad for a second.
Yeah, man.
It happens as we get older.
But
more
you know
and
what?
more.
Ever since then,
You're learning to deal with it.
but I've made it a point to, I'll use the cookie party as an example. I make it a point to be present in the moment and feel the feeling of being in the thing instead of what's going to happen 10 minutes from now. What's the next conversation going to be? What's the whatever. I'm allowing myself to feel the feeling of the now more. And that's
What
where
does it feel like?
that's the gratitude. That's what I'm getting around
I
to.
guess
That's
that is what gratitude
Yeah, man.
is. Active gratitude is just experiencing the moment
And
for
being
what it
thankful.
is.
Thankful for
Yeah.
being thankful for that moment.
Mm-hmm. It's a game changer, man. Of course, there's always going to be shit in everybody's life. There's going to be stuff that happens, man. There's going to be things that happen that you don't like. You got to do shit you don't want to do. We all go through it. But you know what? For the most part, I'm just speaking for me because I'm
'Cause that's all any
experiencing
of
this
us can do.
I'm
'Cause
experiencing
you're
this
you.
life as a body named Aaron. I really feel like that gratitude is like the key to a rich life. Like I don't feel like I need anything. I even with No Simple Road, I had that. It's got to get bigger. We have to grow the show. I want to be doing it full time, and that was where I was looking all the time and missing these wonderful conversations that we were having while we were having them because I was thinking about the fucking next one already.
And now, you know what's also what you're saying too is because you guys are going to hear it in here. That's how this starts off with Noah talking about being fulfilled.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Oh, look at that.
He talking about how he feels very fulfilled.
Oh, that's
and
right.
you have
Yeah.
to start. You have
I
to do
remember.
exactly what we're talking about. You can't feel fulfillment if you're always doing that, looking on to the next thing or having those expectations.
I'm so
and
glad you're
putting
talking about
pressure
this.
on yourself.
Because for a long time, like that really bothered me. Because during that time, like you said, 2015, right?
Yeah.
You said
Yeah,
20.
it was 2015.
Well, like, so 2012 was when I went away to yoga. But prior to that, I was already doing yoga and stuff like that. All of that shit is mindful and present based. And so seeing somebody that was doing that, that's your partner, and you're being trained and taught how to stay in the now, it was such a, like...
Push and pull.
Yeah, it was really challenging at times. And just to hear you talk about it on your own with your own expiration date for that is really cool.
Yeah, man. What a great gift we've been given by being able to do this show. So I was thinking about this as I was driving home tonight. I listened to Noah's podcast and I thought to myself, it would be really rad to have a conversation with him. And 2 weeks later, we record a conversation with him. O'Teal. It would be rad to talk to him. I mean, I could 100 and whatever episodes, I had that thought for each one, and it happened. And that's a gift. That's whatever you want to call it, giving you a gift. You're imagining something happening, and then it happens.
Yourself.
And okay. And
it's true, right?
Yeah,
because
totally.
you've had these thoughts you put out the effort to make it happen, then
Manifests
then it
and-
manifests. And what you're doing right now is completing the circle. You're acknowledging that you're grateful for what you've been given instead of talking about yesterday. Was it yesterday? I think we were on the phone. I can't remember. Maybe when you and I were together at some point talking, and I was like, yeah, joking around. Yeah, get your boss to fire you or something like that. Remember?
I was at the party. You guys are all telling my boss to fire me.
And then Aaron was like, no, I don't want to. I don't want to get fired. I want to work there. And my jaw dropped, and I was just like, wow.
Look,
because when there's no fucking pressure about trying to do Patreon, which I'm not hating on Patreon.
No, do Patreon.
Do
you guys.
Patreon still, but like I can stop working and blah, blah, blah. Like, no, we're doing a show. Whatever they give us or whatever happens, that's above and beyond what we already get.
We are infinitely abundant.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so it was just funny because when you said that, I was like, what?
Oh, that's
You don't want to quit?
Never
You don't
heard
want to
me
get
say
fired?
those
Yeah, I
words.
have not heard that.
Yeah.
No, man. I
So
don't
this
want
is
to
a-
get fired.
You know what's amazing too is how we keep talking about the show has become organic now because we pick.
It's a non-GMO.
We pick some. We pick some of the guests that we want to interview, but has now come to where we're getting suggestions from listeners of people to interview
Thank
that
you, Daniel
we don't really
Shapiro.
know of and learn of, and we're getting bands coming to us. We have
Yeah.
so many. It's coming to us now as well as
Well, we've
Which
said
is-
that before, that No Simple Road is alive, and it's its own thing. Like, it does things without us asking it to do stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and those are awesome. When it's somebody we don't really know, it's also because we're getting to know new friends, just like listeners.
Well, and I think it's
new.
great when people reach out to us only because they feel like their content should be on our show. So
Yeah.
that means something. Like, I belong on that show with the people that listen. Like,
That's my tribe.
Yeah. So to me, that's amazing and fucking rad that listeners want to be on, musicians reach out, management reaches out. Like, these would be great. Like, yeah, I'm just grateful for that aspect of it as well.
On that note, I want to read you guys a DM that came to me. Maybe it was today. I don't know. It was either today or yesterday. Time is weird and fluid and plastic.
Relative.
But it's from @Malin_Music, and we had a little conversation about something I posted in our story, and then he said, I appreciate you guys tons. I've been realizing lately the familyness of your podcast really does make it feel like my home base in the podcasting world, like the Dead are for me in the musical world. I always come back to yours for that sense of community you infuse in the show with all that's starting to inspire the fresh musical happenings around these parts. Mad gratitude for all yous do.
Yeah, that's really
Thank
well
you.
That's
put. And
huge.
That's what,
I feel like that too. Like, I know that I'm part of this train, but I also would be on it. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
I know I would. I'd be listening.
oh yeah,
because like I do listen to every show. I think maybe there's one show that I haven't listened to all the way through. I'm not going to say what it is because I don't remember, but I just know that I didn't finish the episode. But like, other than that, it is like my home. Like, our voices like soothe me. I feel like I can be anywhere, and then I put the podcast on and I feel like we're hanging out.
Yeah.
So I don't feel like I need to hurry to home or do anything.
it is. It
We
is
leave it
home.
on at home now for
For
Darwin.
the dog.
Yeah.
So he doesn't pee in
That
the
was a
house.
good
Yes, so he
recommendation,
doesn't
And
Ryder.
now he doesn't pee in the house when
Yeah.
we leave because he feels like we're home.
Well, you've also been giving him CBD.
Yeah, and he's
So.
hot.
A little bit of column A, a little bit of column B.
Sam and his brother Luke came to the party the other night. They are a couple people that were listeners of the show that we met at a concert here, and I felt
Cut a rug.
connection with them and invited them to the party. Anyway, point being, Luke said something to me, and you guys didn't hear this. They were getting ready to leave, and we were talking about Marco Benevento, and he said, "Dude, I didn't know who Marco Benevento was. I didn't know his solo music. I heard it under your commercials and looked it up and found out about it like that. And he said, I'm going to be honest with you guys. Don't take this the wrong way. He said, I listen to your podcast. I listen to every episode, but I most of the time don't listen to the interviews. And I was like, what? He was like, I just tune in to hang out with you guys and hear what you have to say.
Well, welcome.
He's like,
Well,
but
that's
if I'm
not-
interested in the person that you're interviewing,
Yeah,
then
I
I'll
get
stay and
that.
listen.
And that's not the first time we've gotten that.
No.
That's a trip, man.
Yeah.
So thanks, Luke.
Well, there was like people that are friends on Instagram that don't even listen to the show or haven't listened to the show.
I mean, and
And don't have
crazy.
an interest in some of
And
the
if I
the
listen to the show,
interview.
that's all I listen to.
Look,
I'm not.
there's another, like, I have a ton of girlfriends, and I don't think any of them listen to the show. And it has nothing to do with they don't like us or anything like that. Like, they're maybe just not huge music fans. So to kind of scroll through a library or a catalog of people that you don't even
who's
know.
Oteil Burbridge? Who's
Yeah,
Twiddle?
exactly.
Yeah.
And why is it a big deal?
Why no-
But what we do before and sometimes after when we kind of do our wrap up, like that right there is like some of the best conversation and some of the most open and honest that you're going to hear in your whole week,
Well,
depending on who you are.
It's our therapy. It
Yeah, this
is
focuses
therapy
us.
for us, too.
Sometimes we
No,
sit
I'm not
down.
putting it all only on them. I'm including
yeah.
myself as a listener too.
Oh, okay.
Like, you know,
Okay.
like I'm taking it from both sides. Like all of us four, we get to kind of like get our week out or our year out or our frustrations out, and then listeners will write to us and about those things and be like, "Oh my God, yeah, that's so right on." Or so. Also, shout out to Tiff. I can't remember her name. Yeah, you know who you are, Tiff, on Insta. She met us at the Marco Benevento concert.
Yeah,
and just a sweetheart.
Yeah.
So, shout out to
all
you
of
and your
this
man.
this line of conversation can sound very self-aggrandizing and
Does it?
and narcissistic, but
But
you know what, man?
We're awesome and totally rad and cool and amazing, and we
Okay,
can
now
talk
that's
all the
different.
kind
I
of
was
shit
just
we
hearing
want
it
about
before.
how
It was
amazing
like
and
an
awesome we are.
attitude.
No, Ryder.
people should feel really good about that.
I was
meant
just-
that
I was-
100. I was 100.
I was just gonna say, you should be proud of the work that you do.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
I think that the world at large has put this idea into the collective consciousness that it's not okay to like what you do. You have to be like, oh, my stuff sucks. I'm not that
False
good.
humility
okay, whatever.
is not helping anybody.
And there is a fine line between being an asshole
Well-
and liking the stuff that you do.
It all comes down
That's
to
confidence.
the number one rule:
Don't be a dick.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can be a confident person without being
Don't be a cocky dick.
Yeah.
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 A cocky dick. That's a
Double on is
double on.
And you know what? Like maybe whoever's out
Totality.
there listening, think about your shit that you've done this year and like give yourself props and your man
Yeah.
and your girl and your sisters and your brothers and like think about
Listen,
that.
I'm gonna say this right now. No matter what kind of year you had, no matter how you think you did, how you think everyone around you did, you killed it. You started the year and we're
And you're
ending the
ending
year,
it.
and that's fucking awesome.
Dude, I was just going to say, you know what? Not everybody's had amazing shit happen for them this year, but guess what?
But
You're still here.
there's
You're
365
still
days.
breathing. You're still doing your thing. And guess what? Tomorrow when you wake up, everything can change. Last year at Christmas time, I didn't have money to buy Christmas presents. I found a bunch of money sticking out of an ATM with nobody around. You never know when things can change. So stuff can
that's
happen.
The story he tells.
It's
True, man. That really
Bunch of
happened.
money sticking out of a bank. Hey. Oh no.
That really happened. But I just want to tell everybody out there that we're really grateful for you guys, man. And
Yeah.
you that are listening to the show right now are the reason that we do what we're doing. And if the mics weren't here and nobody could hear it, we'd still be sitting around the table talking to each other. But
Maybe not scheduled, but
no,
we'd
not
still be
scheduled.
doing-
But
Yeah.
you know
it
what,
wouldn't be
man?
Special.
It
I mean, well, okay.
it's
No,
added
you guys aren't
something
special, but
it's added something really amazing to all of our lives, and the fact is not lost on us. And so I think if everybody here put it in a big pot, one of the things that we're grateful for is you guys out there. And we love you guys, No Simple Road family. You're fucking amazing. And
Shout out to you, Preston.
yeah.
Oh, Preston.
Preston.
Yeah, shout out, baby.
So let's do the business so we can get to Noah. Because everybody's like, what? Is there an episode this week? Are you guys just going to talk about gratitude?
Is the episode. We are the episode.
You want to start us off, Ryder, with the business?
Yeah, go ahead and visit us on Instagram at nosimpleroad. We've got, Aaron kills it on that thing every day. Anytime anyone wants to
Yeah, the storyline lately is very impressive.
Yeah.
Thanks,
You
guys.
fucking
And hit us, please. If you're feeling generous, it is the giving time of year. Go to Patreon.com/nosimpleroad.
Patreon.com.
Patreon.com/. That's how internet works. And yeah, if you're feeling generous, please become one of our wonderful Chan donators.
Look, that is the way that we pay for everything on the show. If you're new to podcasting, that is how all the hosting gets paid for, all of the equipment, all the back end stuff. That all costs money to bring you the show every week. So if you gave $1 a month, that would be you paying a quarter a show, because we do 4 shows a month. So that's 25 cents a show, man. And it's Christmas.
It's
Hook up
Christmas.
the No Simple Road family.
If you just want to give a one-time gift, we also have a
PayPal. nosimpleroad@gmail.com is our
you.
PayPal. You can go on Facebook and join the No Simple Road family group.
We do have a new 5-star review.
You want to read it?
I don't have my phone.
I will.
We'll get it.
Somebody
we
tell
have
us.
the Discord.
Yeah,
the
it's short and
Discord,
sweet.
The Discord.
Please leave
the
us
Reddit.
5-star reviews. It gets the show out to more and more people. It looks good, and it makes our hearts happy every time we
it's so
hear
fun.
one.
It does.
Well, that's the thing. The last time we talked about that, there is a rating system for podcasts the same way there is for music. Like, you know how they're like, that single came in the top 100 or whatever. That same thing happens for podcasting. When you guys leave those 5-star reviews and you subscribe and download the show, that makes us go up in the charts.
Get us up in that 100.
We are
top 100.
We are.
All time.
I
We're in
thought
the
we
top.
looked
We're in the
again.
music,
still
right?
in-
We are in the
We looked the
music.
other day and we weren't.
In the music
podcasts. Sorry.
No.
Sorry.
Everybody shush. In the music interviews category,
Okay.
we are number 36 today.
See, you guys need to get us into
Wow.
that all-time podcast 100,
Yeah.
top 100.
New and noteworthy. So
Pretty
let's hear this
please.
review, Mel.
This is just a short, cute little sentence that says it's a 5-star, and it's from the Joey SFC. Thanks so much for bringing us all closer together. Love you guys, Joe. Rainbow, lightning bolt, skull, and fish donut.
Yeah.
Yay.
We
Thank
speak
you.
your name.
Thank you so much, Joe.
And I
for
haven't
a
shouted this
sweet
out
thing.
on the show in a while. If you've got something to say, if you had a really
yeah.
really good trip,
What's
or
that
something
number?
amazing happened to you, or you want to give a trip report for a show, or talk about a set list, or give us a recipe, or
Or
tell
have
us
cool
Merry
show
Christmas,
idea.
or whatever,
Do something completely silly like
Yeah.
we've gotten several times.
you can call the Tepid line at 971-808-1524. That number again is 971-808-1524.
Wow.
All right.
Yeah.
So that's the business.
I love that it's called the Tepid line.
Yeah,
It's not,
well-
it's not the hot line.
Fear of a
It's-
Craft Beer Planet has the lukewarm line.
So we have
We've
the
got
Tepid.
Tepid.
Most
line.
radio stations have a hotline.
Yeah, well, because theirs is hot.
Yeah, we're tepid.
Yeah, tepid. One thing before we start, we mentioned it. We do it with our dog. I recommend you leave us to babysit your dogs during the day.
Yeah, put on No
What?
Simple
Oh.
Road on your Sonos
Yeah,
or
we
your
will
or your
babysit,
speakers or whatever, and we'll
dog
babysit
sit.
your dog.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we're gonna get you to the interview, you guys.
Noah,
You're
thank you
gonna-
for being on
yeah,
the show, man.
Again, Noah,
Thank you.
you're the man. We appreciate you. Thank you for pulling that tarot card at the end of the episode too. That was very special for Mel and I. Her and I have been reading tarot since a couple of years after we got married, and we both used the Thoth tarot deck. And well, Mel uses a bunch of decks, so that card was very significant for her and I. And I appreciate you doing that for us, man.
Well, I knew it was for the show.
Yeah. And also, all you out there, don't forget, listen to Synchronicity Podcast, and also listen to all the Osiris podcasts that are out there on our network. So here we go. Everybody ready?
What is a city without its music?
The legacy of the New York Philharmonic is incredible.
Nearly 2 centuries of history. That's a lot of music and a lot of stories.
I was sitting on stage for the very first time thinking, I can't quite believe this is happening.
Join me, Jamie Bernstein, as we explore the history of the New York Philharmonic. It's the NY Phil story made in New York, a podcast about a city, its people, and their orchestra. Listen wherever you get podcasts.
We're ready.
Adjust your pillows. Make sure your seatbelt's on if you're driving.
I've braced myself. Go.
Ryder's braced himself. You guys out there, remember
Get
the
a
rules.
beverage.
Safety third. Hydrate.
Hydrate beverages.
All right, here we go. Without further ado, the No Simple Road crew gives you Noah Lampert from the Synchronicity Podcast.
Whoa.
Noah Lampert. Wow. That's probably the most important thing. Noah, welcome to the show, man.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. I am going to allow the other 2 individuals that have been haranguing me for the past few minutes to say their piece.
We have to do
We've
something.
been allowed.
Yeah.
You can talk, Mel.
Okay.
Go ahead, Mel.
Okay, Noah. I'm a little scared, but my name's Mel. No, man. Welcome to we're not on the porch. Welcome to the dining table.
Thank you.
Yeah, we've been forced inside. And this is Apple. Thank you for joining us, Noah.
Yeah, man. Happy to be here.
And also, Noah, I have to say, Noah.
Why? Why do you have to do that?
Because my cousin's son, his name is Noah, and we used to mess around like that. I'd be like, "Hey, Noah," and that's how I always talk. So anytime anyone has the name Noah, that's what I think.
That's who they are.
But that's kind of appropriate for you and your friggin' what's going on and blowing up in your world, man.
Yeah, it's been a fun time.
Yeah,
just how fun.
We've been watching.
Yeah, it's been pretty intense over the past 6 or 7 months, particularly. But yeah, things are going really well, and I'm just very happy. And I think the word I'm looking for more than anything is I feel fulfilled for like the first time, and not just for like glimpses, but like it's been a stable, fulfilling feeling through ups and downs. Yeah, it's been awesome. So yeah.
So now it's a way of life.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So Noah, for everybody out there that doesn't know who you are, will you introduce yourself to them, please?
Yeah, I am Noah Lampert. I have a podcast. I'm probably most known for my podcast, Synchronicity, at this point. I'm a podcaster, musician. I do astrology and tarot readings now. I laugh when I say that because I wasn't doing it 3 months ago.
But that's so cool.
I think there's something very attractive in a spiritual way that you're just like barely learning it. And yeah, like I don't fucking know, but we're going to figure this out. And that's what shows people the intuition and the magic of the deck. It's like someone can just be barely learning and still strike a chord with you.
Yeah. And like truthfully, I really describe at least what happened for me with astrology and tarot is it really feels like remembering more than learning.
Yep.
It's like a very like Socratic way of looking at things that you don't actually ever learn anything. You just kind of remember this innate wisdom. Yeah. And I was fortunate enough to start doing it through the podcast. So I just offered to do it for free, starting with tarot and then astrology. So like that was kind of dumb because like, hundreds of people hit me up and I did like 50 to 100 of each. And, after you do that many, you kind of know whether you're like full of shit or not. So I was like, I'm definitely not. So I just kind of scaled it up from there. And I'm trying to now I'm figuring out like how to make this available to as many people as possible, but still offer like a cool way of doing it. Because I've been doing in-person ones out here in LA. I've been here for a couple weeks, and those are really fun. So I don't know. It's just all fun is the truth.
That's the trick, man, that I think. Before I get into that, first of all, thanks, man. Thanks for what you do, dude. It's meant a lot to me personally. For real. Like I started listening a while back, and maybe 2 months ago or so.
And it was a trip for me because when I would listen, it was always the shit that I was thinking about is what you were talking about.
Yeah.
And you were putting it in such an eloquent way. And it, like Mel said, so like there's no bravado, there's no bullshit. It's just, this is me and I don't give a fuck and I'm doing this and it's fun and it's cool. And it was super refreshing for me because I've been around that world for 25, 30 years.
Yeah.
And I think I got jaded.
Oh yeah.
Because it's like it can seem gross. And I'm ultra vegan. I only allow, the kindest things into my body, and I sleep with my crystals that are dunked in water in the ocean at the full. Like, oh, come on, man, give me a break, And so
I love all that stuff too.
But no, I'm not bagging on it. I'm just talking about that. What makes you jaded? That thing.
That persona.
Well, yeah, it's like the fake awake kind of. Yeah, this is something I've been thinking about a lot. Well, so there's a few things there. One is like, I really appreciate you saying that. And I think it took me a long time to be comfortable enough to present my own experiences in a way that felt authentic. And for me to be able to do that, like I actually had to like fucking stabilize some powerful states of consciousness and pressure test them and make sure that like they held up against like the good and the bad and all the kind of chaotic stuff that can happen in life. So that was really helpful for me. But then also in terms of like other, people who maybe are presenting this stuff in a way that is inauthentic and visibly inauthentic, or just kind of like, not doing it in maybe the most skillful way, is one thing is I found just imagine them getting it. That's the best, shortest cut to getting rid of like, or not being attached to the energy. The thing that I used to do, because I work behind the scenes with a lot of this stuff, especially when like people like objectively fucked me over, is I would get mad and judge and condemn. And I didn't realize that was actually like binding me to that shit. And it was somehow like making me because like there's always some core sense of truth, like the crystal stuff, right? Like
of course, yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? But like the way people kind of inauthentically present it, I know that's like a big challenge right now. But what's cool is I think people now are more receptive to kind of the more shadow aspect work that's needing to be done, kind of like the darker shit.
Can you explain that a little bit for those that aren't familiar?
Yeah. So like, sometimes like I found like a couple of my friends think like I'm a love and lighter. They're like, hey, you're so positive, you're so optimistic, you're a love and lighter. I'm like, no. Like I am definitely not. What actually helped me balance my shit out is like I got in touch with like the dark stuff, like the aspects of my being that maybe you can't just blast out publicly, like just deep, ranging from anything to like shame or trauma to, weird desires to like fetishes to who fucking knows, but like anything that you don't publicly go around and yak about just like on the street to people. A lot of people push that away and they sweep it under the carpet. And anyone who knows anything about carpets and sweeping shit under it, like eventually you're going to end up with a huge fucking lump of shit under there. Yeah. And like if you walk on it, it'll pop out at an inopportune time. So if you do the kind of like, if you're just honest about how, everything is love and light in one sense, and you shouldn't be destructive and hurt people, but from a non-dual perspective, it's all perfect. Like literally everything that we see in the world is there for you to wake up to realize who you really are and what you can really do, which sounds like platitude after platitude, but it's really true. And when you know kind of how to like use this world as a tool, because it's a mirror, it's like a time delayed magnified mirror. And when you know how to use it, it's like it ceases to become this like thing you fight against, and you just kind of gently allow yourself to like be where you really want to be. And the fun part of it is the stuff you really want, like your desires, your wishes, your dreams, like that's what you're getting. Like that's what you're actually pushing yourself towards. Yeah.
Man, that is so true. And hearing you say that made me stop and say, wait a minute. Like I heard you say that,
and I took a look around and I was like, I've been pushing so hard for this dream and to manifest this thing and to imagine this thing into being and have it happen. And I stopped and I looked around. I was like, oh shit,
it's happening.
It's here. It's happening. I'm in it. Like, and I would have missed it.
Yeah.
Pushing so, striving for the next, when right now it's all happening right this second and I'm not paying attention.
Yeah, I mean, there's two ways to look at that too. Like, so we do get these nice little plateau and appreciation zones, but the cool thing about using your desires and your fears, which I refer to, I plucked this from Neville Goddard, but what does he say? Propelling yourself up the fiery spiral of ascension.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, that's the best way to put that. But basically what you do is like, you're aware of something you don't have that you want. Mm-hmm. And you don't have to be weird about it. You don't have to be like, I want this so bad. It's just like, oh, I would like this. That would be cool if I could experience that. That is literally there not to vex you, not to show you what you don't have, what you can't have, but it's to show you that, oh my God, you want that? You can have it. Just accept it into your life right then. That's literally the only operative mechanism that allows it into your life. Some people, and this is where this bumps up against the logical mind a lot, is some people view it as like, well, effort needs to be done. Like if I want to be, a famous podcaster, I obviously have to create podcasts. So I can't just imagine being a famous podcaster and never put out a podcast.
In bed, yeah.
So what I tell people is it's not actually like a conflict between effort and imagination. Is if you imagine being a famous podcaster, eventually when it clicks in subconsciously for you, when your intuitive heart just like accepts it, you'll just naturally do the shit you need to do to be, and it won't feel like you have to do anything. You'll just be like, oh, this is what I'm doing now. Like you put the script out for yourself and you just start following it. So it's not like the effort doesn't happen in this world. It's just this world is the effect, and your imagination and your acceptance and beliefs are like, that's the cause. Always.
Have you read Robert Anton Wilson's stuff?
I listened to Cosmic Trigger on my birthday a few years ago it really hit me hard. I was like, oh shit.
So he's got this thing, he says, what the thinker thinks, the prover proves.
Yeah.
And that's what you're talking about. And in essence, I think that where we get hung up, at least me personally, is the mechanics of it. I understand the big picture part. I understand the imagining something into being part. And I also understand the doing stuff. But then I'm like, but how? But how many times? But when? But I get stuck in that, I don't know.
Well, monkey mind.
Yeah.
Well, you're attaching importance to things that, like, sometimes a big energetic shift happens in our lives. Like, we meet someone, or we get a new job, or we make a big decision, and we can just acknowledge that that's like a big energetic thing that's happening. But a lot of times we react kind of anxiously, or like we feel the energy before it happens and we get weirded out, or we put so much importance, like we get like, this is so important that it freaks us out. And like, when is it going to happen? It's so important. When's it going to happen? How's it going to happen? Mm-hmm. And that, it's not that it like ruins it. It just delays it at best, and it repels it, like, kind of. And
it
all you have to do is
Noah.
like, you just have to drop through it and be like, oh, it's not that big of a deal. And then, like, at first you maybe feel like you're tricking or lying to yourself, but if you just keep doing it, eventually you're just like, oh, I am the type of person, and I like shortcuts too. So you can just be like, I'm the type of person who easily solves their problems. You know what I mean? Like, then it's like, okay, well, I'm much now better at solving my issues as they come up. So you just kind of like keep meta hacking your own states of consciousness. And then eventually what I think happens is this really delightful synthesis of like finding out how to be selfishly selfless happens. And that's when it seems like that's like the turbo boost for like doing big things in the world, like hitting all your dreams, whatever they may be, because you start tying it in. It's okay to, like, feel good about what you're doing. That's actually great. But when you tie it in to like being selfless, then it just like it's this awesome thing happens, and it's like it also just becomes easier and better. It's awesome.
It will going back to what you said when we very first started talking was you're like, I'm in this place that just feels good. It's just comfortable right now. And I understand that. Dude, I know you don't know me, but real quick, like I grew up hard and was strung out on heroin and homeless and whatever, went through a whole thing and raised a family after that and have been into magic and the Grateful Dead and psychedelics and all that. And so getting older, I'm almost 50, right? And having been on that road for so long, I would give myself shit of like, you should know more. You should have done better. You should have known better. You should, that whole thing. And like just recently, and I can say within the past year and a half, I've come to a place that's exactly what you're talking about. That place of comfortability where it's like, this is the life I always dreamed I was going to be living.
Yeah.
And it's here now. And whatever shit comes into it is okay.
Yeah.
It's part of it.
It's, and this is where I start to look at like the shit, or like, let's say you imagine something or you use one of these techniques or whatever. And, a lot of people will write me and be like, hey, I've warned people about this too, but they'll be like, hey, I imagine this big thing. And all of a sudden, like everything in my life started to go to shit. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, listen, I was like, here's the deal. Did you really think you were going to imagine this huge new big aspect to your life and it was just going to like smoothly fit into who you were? It's like, that's not how this shit works at all. Like your life, you are like literally killing a version of yourself and your life. So of course it's going to go to shit. So I look at a lot of these chaotic things, as pressure testing your reality. And what I really think is helpful is if you cannot react to like really crazy shit, you don't have to actually deal with that shit as much as you might think, like it gets smoother. The turbulence gets like way less, So it's this weird thing like where you accept turbulence, it goes away. It's like you don't have to really worry about it anymore. And even if it happens, just like, oh yeah, that's turbulence. Like I used to be afraid of flying until like a few months ago.
Really?
And now, yeah, I mean, it makes perfect sense for my life. I was suppressing so many aspects of myself that of course, like something as silly as turbulence would like make me scared of flying. It was ridiculous.
Okay.
But now I don't love turbulence, but like it doesn't bother me at all. It's just like, oh yeah, that's that thing that happens. I don't have to react to this at all. And I think if you just look at your life kind of in the same way, it's like, it's really easy to navigate even fucking crazy shit. And then as you kind of get over very difficult external situations, like I always use the example of my son when he was 2 months old. It's like 4 months ago, he got RSV and had to go to the hospital. And he basically, this is right in the middle of like this imagination stuff. Like, I was pretty flowy. Everything was like, it wasn't like hunky dory all the time, but I was pretty flowy. Things were good. And then all of a sudden he's in the hospital and like has tubes in him. So the first day, it's up in Albany. It's like an hour away from where I am. Mm-hmm. And I went up there. Man, they had all these tubes in him. They were like hitting him to get all this stuff out. And like, I almost passed out. Like I fell on the floor and I was like, holy shit, this is crazy. So I stayed there for a couple hours. My wife stayed there. I went back to be with our toddler. Then I went to sleep that night and I was like, listen, I'm just going to imagine the scene where I'm coming home, carrying him in the baby carrier and my family will be there and it'll all be good. And that's what I did going to sleep. The next day, I go to the hospital again, and for some reason, I just feel way better. I also, smoked a joint, listened to Bob Marley and a lot of reggae on the way up there, but
got your mood right.
Yeah, I mean, it was just like the good move. It was just a good move. So I went up there, and my state of mind was clearly different. I wasn't freaked out. He was in the PICU at this point, the pediatric intensive care unit. Right. So like this is no joke. There's like fucked up kids in there. So, and he's like 2 months old. It's really young. So I go into the room. It's pretty dark, you know, like just like energy wise, like people are kind of freaked out. He's so young, and like, you know, it's a routine thing that kids get, but it's like he's still young. So you could tell like there was a lot of apprehension and just kind of like uncertainty. Mm-hmm. But I had imagined I knew what faith was. Faith is just loyalty to the unseen world, meaning this world that hasn't played out yet. So I'm in there and I'm not like doing anything weird. I'm like, yeah, I saw him. Like, he's fine, like freaking anyone out. I'm just like sitting there feeling different than I did the day before. So I stay there for a few hours that day. It gets a little bit lighter. I come back the next day. It gets a lot lighter. Like the nurses start to feel better. I'm telling some jokes. Like, you know, people are just starting to feel more comfortable. Right. I do, when people leave the room, go over to him and do some like, I did some energy healing. I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. I was just like, yo, let me put my hands on my kid and just like make him get better faster.
Who better than mom and dad to do that, man? Yeah.
So I did that. And then the next day I came back and they just started pulling him off everything. They thought he was going to be there 3 weeks and he was there for like 3 days. And, you know, people can look at that and be like, hey, listen, you know, that shit happens all the time. Sometimes they just get better. There's no correlation there. There's no causation. It's irrelevant to me. It's how I felt. The day before I went there, the second day, I was a fucking shell of a human being. Anyone listening to this who has kids like knows that's like their biggest fear. Dude. And I fucking wrote it out like a champ. And I was like, oh my God, this is pressure testing my reality. This is not some horrible fucked up thing that, you know, oh, I've played with magic too hard and now it's rebounding me. I'm like, I am testing the fuck out of myself right now. And it, you know, looking back, yeah, it sucked, but my kid was a champ. He's no worse for the wear rather. And I fucking learned a really valuable lesson. And like in the grand scheme of things, that's pretty light. So,
bro, yeah, our son had RSV.
Yeah.
So
right?
I get it.
Yeah.
And by the way, we were stalking your Instagram account before we got on the phone with you. And that's a freaking adorable baby, man.
Yeah. He's cute.
That's a cute kid. But you know, go ahead, Mel.
No.
Oh,
I was just gonna say too, like that. I just believe, like you said, no matter what anybody says, if you believe you did that, you did that. That's positive thinking. Yeah. You know, it's like, yeah, I did that.
Well, like everything you're saying is 100%. Like I could have said the exact same thing. You're so on the same vibe. I like just how you're living your life. It's nothing different than anybody else, but it's with more intention, more like you're just awake and focusing from like, not focusing, but like living from that point, from being awake. So those problems that happen, exactly what you did was like you transmuted the situation in your brain and then did it outwardly. And it would, I mean, I imagine you walking like with your disco shoes through the hotel, like, you know, snapping your finger and pointing at the nurse. Hey. And like, yeah, my baby's coming out of here. Like, on a spiritual sense.
It was kind of like that, like energetically, like I just knew that it was happening. And it isn't something like, at first you may be like tricking yourself or like trying to convince yourself, but then at a certain point, it just clicks, and then you don't have to look. You'll know, because the thing you were very obsessive about or wanted so bad, you'll just feel differently about it, and then it'll be like, oh, okay, something is changing, and then you just start to accept it.
But let's be honest, dude. Seriously, isn't that what being conscious and alive is constantly tricking ourselves and making things happen? So why is it so hard for us as people to believe when the good shit happens that it was us that did it, but when you step in a pile of shit, it was you that stepped in the pile of shit?
Yeah, it's actually like a relatively Western conception of being. And I think this is something where the Eastern traditions, the Vedic and the Buddhist traditions in particular, the translations of things like desire and ego, I think are basically fucking wrong. The translations, because that concept of like self-loathing and self-hatred, there's like the famous story of like someone asked the Dalai Lama, you know, like, what about self-hatred? And he was like, huh? And they're like, what about self-hatred? He's like, I don't know. What are you saying? And then someone explained to him like that people don't like themselves and hate themselves. He's like, oh, we don't have that really as a thing. And it wasn't that people don't have issues and problems. It was just like, as an accepted concept, self-hatred wasn't something they had like a context for or language for. So it's not to say they're not human and they don't have different. It's just everyone's mind is kind of different.
Right.
So that should show us that at the core, the mind is malleable, and we can kind of get ourselves on track to like whatever track we want to put ourselves on. And I personally, and this is a choice, is I like the playful, fun, adventurous, you know, cool. Like those are the tracks that I like. So I just kind of put myself on those and work from that space and don't really allow too much else in that's going to fuck it up. Like, and that doesn't mean you cut yourself off from emotions, because that's actually what allows the world to unfold. But it means you have a proper place for them. Like for me, when I go through hard shit, when I get sad or, you know, lonely or, you know, just like, something like that. Like I now know a really good way to deal with that is A, really feel my feelings.
Oh yeah.
B, maybe write it down, or C, make some music or like put it into art somehow. And then instead of it being like this like burdensome, heavy thing, you transmute it quite literally into some type of creative act. And it's like, oh, thank you. Like, oh, sadness isn't this fucking thing that sucks now. It's like I can actually make it art or useful in my life. And then everything becomes to your advantage. Like everything is to your advantage. And then it's just better that way.
Yeah. And at the same time, those things then become advantageous to other people.
Yeah, well, that's
just
the
like
selfishly selfless thing.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny. Your podcast is the Synchronicity Podcast, and like me and Apple were driving home today, or having a conversation.
Yesterday we were having a conversation about like if you won the lottery and had money to hook everybody up and just do all the kindnesses in the world. And then we're driving to Costco this morning, and Aaron looks like, oh, look at the billboard. The lottery's up to $315 million. And then we're talking about. Then he puts on your podcast on our way driving back, and it was just recently where you're talking about the lottery, like all the same things.
And you said the same thing we did. You were like, I wouldn't want to win it for purely selfish reasons, but like it would be rad to be able to hook everybody up and do some really good stuff with it. And
we're just looking at each other like, dude,
did that just happen?
Dude, it's what we're just talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, that the truth is the lottery, like everything else in this world, is just an allegory or a metaphor for freedom, security, you know, creativity, flexibility. Because a lot of people, if you ask them why they want to win the lottery, is they're like, oh, so I can pursue my dreams. And I was like, well, what if I told you didn't actually need to win the lottery? Like, it's fine if you want to.
Pursue your dreams.
Yeah, the lottery thing I did last week, I think it was on Saturday, I released the episode because I had a discussion with a friend, and she was like, you know, you shouldn't tell people they shouldn't want to win the lottery because you're limiting them. And I was like, no, that's wrong. That was not what I was saying. But then I thought about it more, and I was like, all right, fuck it. I'll just tell people that they can win the lottery because it does work like that. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, like I have a good amount of listeners, but clearly the amount of people who sent me their scratch off winnings is the odds are being beaten at every fucking level. It's insane.
Shit. Really?
So yeah, it's nuts. And everyone's like, oh my God, like, and the reason it's kind of like, I knew it would happen, but like, it is just proof that it's just a belief thing. If you believe some guy in a podcast is saying it's possible to win a scratch off, like someone's going to win a big amount of money from listening to my podcast or someone else. And like, all it takes is that person to be like, you know what? Someone in my life is having a hard time. Now I can give them that money. And it eventually will, like, it's going to be cool.
It ripples out.
The next decade is going to be cool.
It ripples
out. Oh my gosh,
dude,
yes.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head.
Yes.
I want to go back with you, though. Like, you weren't just born the Noah Lampert that we're talking about right now, man. Like, what started you on all of this? Like, obviously, psychedelics is a huge part of your world, right?
Yeah. Surprisingly, probably not as big these days as people think, although it is coming back in slowly. Yeah, I was always pretty inquisitive and like reading and philosophical books. I started reading Jung like when I was like 14. Jeez. And that was probably what I consider like my first psychedelic, just because like I was like, I was like, do you guys know this guy's talking about like this thing where everyone like knows everything and it's expressed through everything and we all share these memories and people are like, what the fuck are you like, it's like 14. No one knew what I was talking about.
Come on,
but
so how do you get exposed to that at 14?
My dad, so my parents got divorced when I was 5, but my dad had a huge like book, just like so many books downstairs in the basement where I grew up. So I would just go and pick books that sounded interesting. And I think I must have started with Man and His Symbols. And then, but just like I read a lot of weird books about a lot of weird things. And I didn't know what I was doing really, but I knew like something was happening. And so Jung really changed my mind a lot. But then I would read a lot about LSD before I ever did it. Like when I was 14 and 15, there's still a website. If you Google Noah Lampert LSD, I did it for my 7th grade health class, Miss Liz Arrazos. There's a website for LSD that I made. So I was really interested in it. So I'd read a lot of books. Acid Trip and Storming Heaven were 2 that stuck out. So I always wanted to like, it's not that I wanted to do, I just wanted to know a lot about it. So I went to this 5-week music program at Berklee College of Music when I was 15. It's like you basically go to Boston for 5 weeks, live in the dorm, and basically act like a college kid, but you're 15. Whoa. And so that was, my mom sent me there. It was like, instead of camp, I got kicked out of camp the year earlier for smoking weed. They didn't catch me smoking weed, but they like knew I had weed and they wanted me to rat out the counselor. And I was like, I'm not going to do that. No. So they kicked me out. So I didn't have anywhere to go. She's like, okay, he plays saxophone. He likes music. Well, we'll send him to this thing. It's 5 weeks. So I went there and like within the first few days I met my friends and one of them was from California and had a bunch of acid and was like, hey, do you want to do some sunshine acid? And I was like, yeah.
Hell yeah.
So I ended up taking 3 tabs and tripped for like 18 hours. It was pretty nuts. I was, I'm in Boston. I'm in this dorm room. It's super weird in there, but I felt really in flow and really in really normal.
Like coming home kind of feeling?
Yeah, I felt like home, but I felt like more myself than I ever had. It was also like interesting because it was just such a different perspective on what was going on. But I also that night met my my girlfriend, a longtime girlfriend, and we were in Boston, but she lived in Virginia, which was like 20 minutes from where I lived in Maryland. So that was weird right then too. And like, I don't know, I just felt like super normal in that state. So that really changed my mind a lot. And I think the reason I look back and talk about that a lot is because I think when you're 13, 14, 15, you're still forming your kind of persona of who you are. A lot of people are trying on different personas. They go through phases, all this, that, and the other thing. And when you take something like LSD, especially like a dose like that, or any psychedelic really, that interrupts that process, you kind of like, you really alter the course of like your persona building at a critical phase when people are maybe like going to latch on to want to be like, all right, this is who I am, or I'm going to try these things for the next few years, or maybe for adulthood.
Right.
So I was always very aware that, what we were doing as people was kind of just this elaborate game. It wasn't like there was actually this structure called Noah that was this real thing. It was like this quick little dance of like energies that were constantly like there. And like I acknowledged that Noah existed, but I kind of saw underneath the surface. I parted the veil. So that was pretty instrumental. And then from there, like I was just really interested in LSD. I started putting all my friends on, we'd go to hotel rooms like back in high school and just like, trip and just I never thought it was just recreational. Like it always to me was like, let's get to the bottom of like the universe and like figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
But I did that. Then I went to college in Boston. I enrolled in Northeastern because I had a scholarship there, and I was a psychology student. And then like the first few lectures were like about the brain. And I was like, this sucks. I was like, I thought we were going to learn about the mind. And I was like, I'm out skis. So I withdrew from there, then enrolled in Berkeley, where I had done this 5-week program, and got in there, and then proceeded to do, I guess it started at Northeastern. I was doing a lot of psychedelics, like, routinely 7 to 10 grams of mushrooms, a few times a week, acid on a whim. I was taking like, it was pretty fucking.
That's a lot of mushrooms,
intense.
Noah.
Oh man,
That's like a
what's
free
crazy
for all,
about that
man.
is what's crazy is the 7 to 10 grams.
Yeah.
Is there does come this point, at least in my experience, where it stops getting really, really, really weird, and it just gets super normal, and it's just like, oh man, like I don't even think I'm tripping anymore. Like you push through that kind of like drunken stupor, like being like, whoa. And you're just like, oh my God, I'm completely lucid and clear about everything.
I'm home.
Yeah. Again, the home feeling. And again, this now makes sense to me because, that to me is all of these things are just kind of elaborate, physiologically real, but they're all placebos. This is all internal endogenous states that we use these substances that are very convincing, but like it's just us,
right?
It's all us. It's always us. So if you do, like, you can push through kind of some of these barriers. It's like people call it tolerance and all this, sure, whatever you want to call it, but like eventually you just get to the point where you're like, oh, this is just kind of how it is. So yeah, psychedelics always were a big part of my life. And then a big kind of pivotal point was I took a regular amount of LSD when I was like 22, 23, and I didn't stop tripping for 3 months. And I wasn't doing any more drugs in that period. I was smoking weed, but like I didn't stop tripping for 3 months, and that was a mind bender.
Yeah, I not 3 months, but I've been there. And
crazy.
And
3 months.
It can be a little terrifying. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean,
are you in a relationship at this point?
No, I was not, because I think if I was, I wouldn't have been able to go as far as I did, which maybe would have been good in terms of the subsequent crash that happened, just because, like, when you're out, I would describe it as getting like launched the top of like a mountain. Like you're up there, the view's spectacular, it's incredible, but you have no fucking idea how you got up there. And also, if you got launched on a rocket, you don't take a rocket back down. You have to go back down like it's like Wile E. Coyote. You know what I mean? Like you're gonna hit the ground at some point, and that's what happened to me. Both of those states of consciousness, both the incredible like highs and like ethereal, and I was just like, keep in mind, this is like 2002, 2003. I'm getting what I'm referring to at the time back then is downloads. I'm just like, I'm getting so many downloads right now. I'm a horny college kid at a music school, but I'm talking about unconditional love and numbers and, triangles of ascension. And like, just like, it's too much shit it's like frying my brain. It's like overload. It's like trying to download like the new iOS software on like, a Nokia fucking phone. It's like, it doesn't make sense. So it was like blowing my brains, but like, it was also very profound and real. I kept telling people, I'm skipping through dimensions. I'm walking through dimensions. I'm going through portals. And like, no one knew what I was talking about. So I'm freaking people out. I remember at one point I grew up Jewish, Reformed Jewish.
Me too.
And, yeah. And I, at one point for about 3 weeks out of this 3 month period, I was like, I'm Jesus Christ. Like, I know it.
Oh yeah.
And like, that's like the first sign, for most people that you've definitely lost it when you go around.
You start having the Jesus Christ complex. Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
You get
and
it.
so, but I knew it.
Yeah.
I fucking knew it. I was like, no, like and I wasn't saying I am and no one else is. I was just like, I know I'm Jesus Christ. So that was always weird for me back then. And anyway, what ended up happening was after oy vey, exactly. So after 3 months, and like I had no conception, I just knew it. So I was like, anyway. So after 3 months, I crashed super hard. Couldn't get out of my bed. Moved into a new place. There was no sunlight. Was doing like I was like stealing weed from my roommate who was a dealer. It was just like the grimiest period of my life. And I just like, I knew I was fucked because like I went up to, I was smoking Camel cigarettes back then, and I went to go get a pack, and I hadn't been out of bed in so long that my knees were like super wobbly. Like I was just like, oh shit. I'm like, it was
atrophy.
like a foal, like a baby horse. I was like, I couldn't walk right. I'm like, oh shit, I'm fucked up. So, my mom and some of my friends, like they got the call that I was like fucked up, and they came and got me. I eventually went to a psychiatrist, moved back to Maryland, moved into my mom's basement, like the classic tropes. And, got diagnosed at the time as bipolar. And they're like, oh, this is classic manic depressive, like up, down. And I was like, I'm still like, I'm in the psychiatrist's office, like drawing mandalas.
Yeah, you're like, no, dude, I'm Jesus, and I walk through a dimension you don't understand. This isn't bipolar.
Just to do more acid about it.
At this point, and like I had been prescribed like Adderall and Ritalin when I was a kid because they thought I had symptoms of ADHD, and it was just speed. And I was like, this sucks. So I was really against taking any drugs. And they're like, listen, you can take lithium. And my mom was like, listen, it's a salt. It's on the periodic table. People can take lithium. And if they are not bipolar, it literally will just make them thirsty. Like it actually doesn't alter anything in brain chemistry. It just happens to do something. I was like, okay, let me research this. Looked it up, and I was like, oh shit, this is true. Because like my friends would always be like, I tell them I'm lithium. They're like, whoa, because like Kurt Cobain wrote a song about it. It's like, nah, it's actually like if you stole my stash and took it all, you would just be like super fucking thirsty. It's literally a salt. So I was like, okay, I'll take it. So I took it, and this is what I refer to, and I just recently figured this out. I had a real big decision point based on what I was going through at that point. I had to decide whether I was crazy and everyone else was right, or everyone else was crazy and I was right. And at this point, based on my inability to communicate, I didn't have the words, the eloquence, the concepts, the ability to objectively prove or, stabilize really internally what was going on. I chose that I was crazy. So I ended up taking lithium, re-enrolled back in Berkeley, graduated from there, moved to New York. And then like a year into New York, I was like, you know what? I don't think I'm fucking bipolar. I think that was some weird shit that happened. Let me go, instead of flushing my pills down the toilet, let me go to my mom, my family, and see a psychiatrist and get off this like above board. So no one can accuse me of being like fucking nuts.
Right.
So I did that. And, within like 2-3 months, got off lithium. That was like 11 years ago. Yeah. And I basically, that was very helpful for so many reasons for me, because one, I see how close any one person can come to getting put on a track of mental disease or disorder or illness by believing something they experience that may be actually pretty valid, or maybe it's just a different way of seeing something based on other people's opinions. I could have just been like, yeah, I'm fucking bipolar forever.
Right.
I'm weird. Like, oh yeah, this affects me like this. So
that's the thing that people do though. They attach themselves. I have this, or I am that, or my family died at this age, or like they hang on to
who
that.
I am.
Yeah.
Is bipolar.
So you never get out of it.
Yeah. That's God. I mean, that sense of I am, that's everything. That's what people refer to as source, Krishna, Buddha, God. That's literally everything. It's consciousness itself. So, it was pretty instrumental in terms of me. And it took me, just to be clear, like that was like 2009 or 10 that I went off lithium. Based on this experience of having gone, very high and then crashing and then being like, okay, I guess something happened there. I would describe what happened subsequent up until about like 8 months ago as me putting on like Clark Kent clothes again. Like I was Superman for 3 months, but then I was like, oh, maybe I'm not Superman. And then I forgot. And then I was like, what the hell was that whole thing? That was so weird. And then I found, Neville Goddard and a set of techniques that empirically proved to me through a very strange set of synchronicities and coincidences that like, oh my God, not only was I not crazy back then, I was just like way ahead of the game in terms of what's happening, what I thought would happen. Because I was talking about shit like 17 years ago. I was like, the divine feminine is going to come back. There's going to be this age of prosperity. There's going to be, you know, harmony and balance, and there's going to be these egalitarian societies and, you know, communes, but not in a weird way, and like people getting along, and musicians and creatives will be at the forefront of society, and it's going to be like a spiritual renaissance. Like, and I couldn't speak like that. What it would come out back then is like, unconditional love is the most important thing, and the number 3. And so like I was like a caveman trying to explain like a cell phone.
Right.
So basically what I've realized now, though, what's so fun is it's literally happening right now. Yes, not only was I not the only person to receive all of this stuff, I'm connecting now with so many other people who either back then or now are waking up to all of these fun kind of, like, reality is so much more fun than people ever thought it could be. And because I went through all this shit, like I'm pretty familiar. Like this is me, like I've been waiting for this. Do you know what I mean? Like this is literally like, this is now clicking into my timeline, and I'm like, okay, fuck yeah. Like I'm with this.
Here we 100%. Go, motherfuckers. It's on.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, yeah, man.
Who were you telling this to back in the day when you were, you know, like that's what I want to know. Like, did your parents know about your passion for, you know, like peace and love and things coming and like divine feminine? Were they down with that?
I couldn't shut up about it. I was basically just blabbing to every single person who came in front of my face, and like just it sounds now, because also I'm like eloquent and I'm convincing and I have direct experience. But I mean, imagine just any random person who you're friends with, all of a sudden, it's more tolerable now, but like just not shutting the fuck up about unconditional love, you know? Yeah. And if you were like, hey, yeah, you know, like this person cut me off in traffic today. And instead of like making it like a parable in a fun way, it was just like, yeah, but it's unconditional love. You just got to unconditional love. You'd be like, shut up. You'd be like, be quiet. And, you know, and it was mainly also like what I think happens when we experience these very high transcendent states of consciousness. And this is certainly what happened to me, is I wanted to share it, but didn't know how in an effective way. And what people want to do is they want to convince people or talk to people or show people. And that was what my tendency was. And now I realized is you don't do that. You do it inside your imagination. You do it inside your head. You imagine people understanding it, and then you'll naturally do, or people will naturally gravitate towards the things you're saying. If you try to convince someone of something, like just look at politics, like it doesn't work. It's not like you can have every great argument in every logical sense of the word, and even intuitively can make sense, but like you're not going to like convince someone through your words anymore. It's not like how things really work. So yeah,
nobody's walking away from the debate going, you know what, you were absolutely right.
Yeah. I change. I'm on your side now.
Thanks, man. No, it's really a trip to talk to you, Noah. I'm kind of blown away right now, honestly. Like, so Apple and I have been friends since I was 12 and he was like 14 when we met. Like I said, I'm almost 50, so we've been friends a long time. And back in the late 80s, almost early 90s, we had some really good liquid acid. And there was maybe 50 hits left in the bottom of this food coloring bottle. And it wouldn't drip out anymore. And so you had to take the stopper out of the food coloring bottle and let it sit on your tongue and let it soak for a second, then, you know, give it to the next person. Well, I have the bottle and it's on my tongue, and somebody said something. I turned my head and the bottle went boom in my mouth. And I was like,
oh, God.
Oh, fuck. And Apple.
I got angry. I was like, you're not going alone. I grabbed it and I got every little drop I could left out.
He's like, I'm going with you, man.
I shook it, got a bunch out, and then went like in the bathroom and put water in it, shook it up, got the rest of it.
So I understand what you're talking about going for an extended stay vacation.
Yeah. It's pretty nuts.
Yeah. And coming, like you said, coming back from that, first of all, not having the words to describe what's happening, first of all. Second, not having the lexicon to explain it to anybody else, much less myself.
Yeah.
And then receiving all these downloads while you're there of stuff that you didn't know you knew, that you're remembering that you thought you knew from before.
Exactly.
And then finally having to come down and come to grips with what happened to yourself and feeling like what you said, that did I break myself, or no, that really fucking happened, kind of thing. And the saving grace for me was finding the Grateful Dead community, because it was a community of people that had collectively blown their minds over and over and over again, that had a lexicon and a set of symbols to explain what had happened over and over and over again to this huge community of people ever since they started their thing.
Yeah.
So that's what, like, if you ever wondered what the deal is with that, like, that's at its core for 90% of the people that are at those shows. That's what it is.
Right.
It's finding those people that you can relate to once that's happened. And I'm curious with you, like, after that was all over, those people that you were spouting to during all that time, are they still hanging out with you when it's all done?
So it's very interesting. A lot of friends were dropped off at that point, because, you know, you're watching someone go kind of nuts. You know, it was kind of nuts. It was just like a crazy thing. I also got, like, a girl I had like a very short relationship with, got like weirdly fixated on her running this old karmic pattern that I would run constantly, which was projecting my own divinity and self-worth onto another person, usually a girl I was attracted to. And that never ends well for anyone ever. No. So if you catch yourself doing that, just don't. The other people are amazing, don't get me wrong, but don't put your own shit onto other people. It doesn't work. So, luckily she was a very cool person, still a very cool person, and like kind of understood that there was something else going on and it wasn't just me being like weird. But a lot of people fell off. Now what's interesting is a lot of people stayed. I've been asking friends as I go through some intense shit these days. Like I was like, remember when I went crazy? And like a lot of them are like, you didn't go crazy. Like you just had like a really different perspective on things. Like it wasn't crazy. And I'm like, interesting that you thought that. But then also I've had people who kind of wrote me off. I don't know, like probably just reacted poorly to what was going on with me. As my podcast has gotten more popular and, I have a broader platform, they've gotten back in touch and been like, hey, like we're kind of on the same path. Like I'd love to speak to you. And I'm like, yeah, all good. Like I get it.
Totally.
So, just cause like, I mean, the shit I was talking about that back then in linear time back then seemed crazy. But if you look back now, I look super smart. You know what I mean? So, and then I was saying all this shit to people, and it wasn't just me saying unconditional love over and again. Like I was saying a lot of stuff, and a lot of it was really profound. Right. Like it just like I had an innate knowledge of like the chakra system and like the three gunas, a lot of Vedic stuff. And like I wasn't, again, the studying of this stuff was so superficial that it was like it was like pulling a thread and like the whole thing unravels. Like it barely took any effort for me to like come across something and like fully grok it, and not in like a bullshitty, like I can do the bare minimum to explain this, but like really understand innately what was going on. That was certainly something that was seeping through back then. The difference is now is I know what I'm doing and I know how to do it. I know why it's working. I know why I want to do it. And it makes me much more effective as someone who can relay what I did to help myself. And then by proxy, help other people because I can explain it effectively.
Yeah. It's really rad what you're doing, man. And just
explaining it,
eloquently.
No, not eloquently, effectively. Explaining effectively. What's the difference between explaining it effectively and not?
Direct experience, conviction, not speculating, all stuff that I've engaged in and still engaged in from time to time, but the thing that I find most people respond to when I'm speaking or I'm with them in person now is like, even if they may think I'm bullshitting, they know I'm not. Like, they can tell. Like, there's no.
They know better.
They just can tell that like there's no. Also, like I'm pretty free. Like I said when I first discovered like this stuff was practically applicable in this reality and in this world, like a lot of these techniques and kind of like, you know, manifesting or letting reality unfold, is I made a firm commitment that like I'm never going to charge people for like how to use their imaginations. Like it's not going to be a course. It's not going to be like, I charge for readings, I charge for a lot of other things, but like I'm always going to just tell people like you have full control. It's actually super easy to prove it to yourself. You can empirically do it. You know, this stuff will always be freely accessible. So I think that also helps people, that there's not like something you have to sign up for to get access to this information. And that to me, like that helps people like drop immediately any idea that like I'm doing this for explicitly or only my own gain. And so I try to keep like a healthy balance between stuff that people can pay for and the stuff that people like I'm just constantly putting out for free, because why not? Like if you understand imagination creates reality, why would I only charge money? Why would I not charge money? It's like, you do both.
Yeah.
You know what? What you're talking about right there is the reason that me personally, when I started listening to your show, that I dropped the wall and let you in. What was good, because I was like, oh, there's no agenda here. This is somebody talking about their experience. So he's doing what I'm doing. That's it.
And if you meet me, like I worked behind the scenes too much to know the schism between the teacher persona and the person in reality. And so like if anyone meets me, there's no difference. There's no like stage persona. Let me go into this fucking holy
Podcast
state.
Noah.
Like there's not, and there's never been. So like that I think also is comforting for people. So they see like there's not this like weird game. And like I personally, when people put on like the affective voice and like, you know, get in this, it's just like, I'm like, why? It's fine if it's really something. Like if it's a performance, that's cool. But like,
yeah, it's like
don't try to convince me like this is how you're ordering something at the drive-thru. You know what I mean? Like this is not how you're talking.
Hey, I'll have a number one with cheese.
Yeah. A holy number one.
Yeah,
exactly.
whatever, man. I for real though, man. Like I've said it twice now, but I want to impress upon you the magnitude of what it meant for me personally. Like,
yeah, man.
It really was a big deal for me, dude. Like, I started No Simple Road because my kid gave me a mic and was like, you guys talk about music all the time, start a podcast. It's like, yeah, that's a good idea, whatever. Recorded one and it just blew up. And we're like, okay, now we have this thing. And for me, man, coming from the background that I told you about and everything that's happened, like I always felt like I was looking for the thing, like, what do I want to be when I grow up? But now I'm 46 years old when I started the show, and I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up. And finding the podcast for me was like the thing. I was like, oh shit, this is what everything that I've been through can be funneled into this thing creatively. And I can use all of my everything, shadow and light, all of it, to talk to people and share my experience and make people not feel alone and all that. And so you start doing that, and there's no fucking book that you can go to. Well, there's probably a million books you can find about podcasting, but there's no roadmap for this. You know what I mean? It's just you're doing it and you got to figure it out. And every once in a while, Duncan was like this for me. Shane was like this. It struck a chord.
Ed Lou.
Ed Lou from Psychedelic Milk too. It struck a chord of like, oh wow, there are other people that are doing this thing, and and it made me feel like I'm in the right place even more than I already did. So I just want to extend my thank you to you for that.
Well, man, that means a lot, because that's basically the beacon we're putting up the bat signal as much as possible, because I think people just need to there's so many theoretical hurdles to realizing that you actually have complete control over your life. And so many of them are so compelling, especially when we look out in the world. So to be able to just get this shit and then just do it in a way that's fun and authentic and helpful, that's what everyone should be doing in every aspect of their life, no matter what it is. And I just want to show people more than anything that you can do that. And there really isn't some special differentiating qualifier for living. It sounds so fucking new agey, but for actually living the life of your dreams. It legitimately
it does sound new agey, but it's true.
But it's true.
I know, that's what's so frustrating is all these people like me who are naturally averse to platitudes and self-helpisms and stuff, but I
was saying in a previous podcast, we have to come up with a new language, because I feel like a lot of the things that we're dealing with now and feel are outdated. I'm totally into all that stuff too, and chakras and crystals and Reiki and all these hands-on healing and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
And I find myself quiet about it because of the language,
Yeah. I mean, I definitely recognize part of my role is to just get real out front with this stuff, because
you do.
Because I think part of what kept me away from things like tarot and astrology is this reluctance to look at it as a normal thing, it's some outsider thing, or it's some outside the mainstream. And so for me, what made it click is I'm oh, I get this. This is just the deepest part of people's unconscious. We're using these external objects to gain insight into what's going on. So it literally fits with everything. So it was fine for me to just accept it as an active principle. But then in terms of when I explain it to people, when I'm doing a reading, I don't want to just explain to them why all of their stuff is in Capricorn and all these oppositions are going to be difficult energies. I want to give them some practical fucking tip on what this looks like in their life, how they can use,
interpret it.
Yeah. So that to me is really important with all this stuff, is making it accessible and talking about it in a way that is kind of normal. And I want people to know. That. Yeah. And I want people to know that I'm weird and woo. I'm super woo, but I also I love the Miami Dolphins. I love the NFL. I have multi dimensions of myself that honestly, I think at one point in my life, I thought they couldn't coexist. And of course they can. Of course they can. They're totally in harmony with each other in the most perfect way. And that's, I think, a big lesson for a lot of people to learn, is you'd never really turn off some part of yourself unless it's just not serving you and you're oh, I don't need it then.
That's learning to accept who you are right there.
Yeah.
In its totality. It's not oh, I'm this spiritual person, so I can't like the Dolphins. But you know what, man?
I can't like a brutal sport.
Yeah. You know what? You do like that. And
I do.
And you are into chakras.
And you don't have to change hats to do that either. It can't be oh, I didn't know we were going to talk about woo. Let me go put on my other costume.
Then put on my
then I'll go watch
pants.
football and put on my my bro outfit.
Yeah, I just wear the same clothes and people know me.
I want a BB. This is what I put on this morning.
You don't have a daishiki that you wear for Sunday.
I should get one.
They're rad. You should have one.
So before we take off, do you want to, if you're into it, if not, it's cool, man. Do you want to pull maybe one card?
Yeah, let me pull a card. I have them right here.
For No Simple Road?
Yeah, let me pull you a card. Let me, I'm going to put the mic down while I shuffle for a second.
Yeah, do your thing. I feel like I need to talk to fill dead space.
No, that's being uncomfortable with a beautiful silence.
No, that's recording a podcast.
No, people like quiet times.
Okay, everybody, here's a quiet time.
Whoever listens to this, comment yes or no if you like quiet times.
During a podcast.
All right, here's the card. I'll pull it up.
All right.
Oh, 2 cups reversed. Ooh, 2 cups reversed. Okay. So the 2 of cups for people, I'm pulling from the Rider-Waite.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So for people who don't No, it shows a man and a woman exchanging cups. Really, the man is reaching out with his right hand and he's holding the cup in his left hand, whereas the woman is holding the cup with both hands. So he's reaching out, the masculine. So there's a lot of color alchemy going on in this, but essentially we have the intuitive, growth-like feminine principle where its support on the ground is the passion, juxtaposed with the kind of creative intellect of the man who has passion on the mind. And this alchemy, this exchanging of cups, the masculine and feminine, creates this caduceus, and that turns into Leo the lion. And there's this lovely literal house on the hill in the background. So at its core, Two of Cups in the upright position is this wonderful balance of masculine and feminine energies, the conscious and subconscious minds. In the reverse position, it's not an imbalance, but it would speak to me that there's some work to do to balance these energies. And that sounds right. I mean, just energetically where we are right now, towards the end of this year in 2019, there's going to be some pretty intense stuff going on. And this balancing is going to be something that people continue to work on and stabilize. So it's not bad in any way, but it is an invitation to kind of harmonize this bridge between the logical and analytical aspects of our mind and the felt intuitive aspects. So the more we can do over the next few weeks and in general to make that practical and accessible to ourselves, the better we'll feel, for sure.
Wow. Nailed it.
So in relation to the show, there needs to be a better balance between, or, work toward a better balance between that.
Masculine and feminine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am always outnumbered.
You are. You are always outnumbered by a bunch of dudes on the porch. Noah, again, man, thank you for taking the time with us, brother.
Yeah, man.
I really want all of us to hang out sometime.
Yeah, man. I'm gonna be on I'll be in Southern California a lot in the coming years and months.
Our daughter lives down there, so we're down there pretty frequently. So we'll stay in touch, man. And before we go, tell everybody where they can find you and hear you and all the stuff.
Yeah, they can find me on Synchronicity is the podcast. It's on all the places, and Instagram, Twitter, the website, syncpodcast.com. And in a couple of months, probably less, we'll have this new membership thing rolling out for readings and live events and a lot of cool stuff coming out. So
congratulations, man.
Also, I just wanted to say that I don't know if it was your last one, it probably wasn't, but Pussy Church. That is an excellent show. Thanks. So good. I'm still currently in the middle of listening to it. I am about 3/4 of the way through, and I am so excited about it. I'm sorry that the conversation didn't turn earlier to it, but I love what your context of all the shows that you have, all the different the people that you have, your ramblings, your all of it. It's just fun. Aaron turned me on to it and was like, hey, you should listen to this. And I started listening, and I was like, that was at a time where I just kind of had stopped listening to podcasts for a bit. And anyway, just started listening to you again, and I'm just grateful for your content. And that's it, man. I appreciate
I told Apple today, man, as we were driving home listening to you, it was just you. It was one of your 45-minute episodes or whatever. Yeah. And I was like, that's fucking hard to do, man. Just by myself sitting there talking, and to keep the thread coherent. Fuck, dude.
You have a knack for that.
Jedi.
Yeah, you have a definite knack for that.
And that's mine's short. I was just gonna think. I have not listened a lot. I've listened a little bit. First of all, I love your voice. You're very easy to listen to.
That's true.
For me,
That's
I
true.
don't listen to a lot of podcasts because I have a hard time listening. I have a hard time listening to my own voice on our podcast. But your voice is very. You're just you have a lot of subject matter that's very heavy, but unlike a lot of other people and books and things out there in the world, you make it more approachable, more accessible because of who you are. And you also, I say that since Aaron's talked a lot about you. In fact, he just won't shut up about you sometimes. But no, it's really affected him, like he said, and we see that because we are all so close and stuff. So I just want to thank you for coming on and for just being who you are, open and honest and soul.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. That really means a lot. I mean, obviously, if you just keep saying nice things about me, I'll come back on.
Yeah, no, that's our goal is to
Mel,
kiss your ass.
Do you have the con list? That was the pros. What's the con?
The con list.
I want to hear the con list is the more important one.
Yeah, right.
I agree.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. This has been super fun.
Yeah, and we'll do it again sometime. And if you're ever in Portland, you got a place to crash if you need it.
For sure. I appreciate it. I probably will be there.
Yeah.
All right.
For sure.
Continued success with the podcast, and I will let you know when this drops.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
Cool, man.
Noah, thanks again for hanging out at the dinner table with us.
All right. Bye-bye, guys.
Have a good night.
Did I hang up? Yes, I hung up. Hey. Hi.
Hey.
That was fun. That was really fun. I feel good. Are you feel good?
That is, that wouldn't quit. That's the kind of dude.
It was really quick.
I felt like
15
minutes.
Well, because it's interesting, and he does have he's got a soothing, just nice voice, and
he takes the stage so well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's very comfortable to listen to him talking.
So we're gonna have to come up with a con list for him, though.
The con list is, when you don't have people here, it takes on a whole new level. So the con is that he's not here in person.
Okay.
So that's a con.
I'll go with that. So everybody out there, check out his podcast. It is the Synchronicity Podcast on the MindPod Network.
With Noah Lampert.
And for all of you that aren't listening to all the other podcasts on the Osiris Network and you're listening to this show, you should check them all out.
Yeah.
So After Midnight is the series that Osiris did for Fish's Big Cypress 20-year anniversary. And I have listened to it. A bunch of our listeners have listened to it and commented back to me about it. If you haven't listened to it, you need to check it out. It is astounding. Interviews with Trey and John and Mike and
I haven't listened
Tom
yet.
Marshall and just all of it. It's so awesome and well produced and badass. You guys, I'm not going to steer you wrong. Just go check it out. It's really cool. And remember, follow us on all the social media stuff and do all the things and be nice to each other.
Do all the stuff and all the things.
Do all the stuff and things.
Just do it.
And so listen to Apple. And,
Just do it.
And be nice to each other and take
love
care of yourself.
one another.
Yeah. Smile at a stranger.
Love yourself.
Feed your dog. And if you don't have a dog, don't feed him.
Yeah. If you have a cat, pet your cat.
Pet your cat. Bye.
But it's a burden. Felony just been deferred, and hell means been the earth, and alchemy can bring the birth, the melody of a newborn. So persistent, so resistant, so insistent, so commitment, so resilient, or haven't you learned it? No simple road. 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 My windshield is shattered as I focus through the spot in the corner that is still intact. The react is both a defense mechanism as well as a fear. We've traveled this road before, so we may think, but it's a tad bit of strange similarities that feed an A=A complex. The fears of your past do not equal the perplexities of the current road.
Hey listeners, I want to tell you about the April-May 2023 issue of Relics magazine. Features a Dave Matthews Band cover story with additional articles and interviews with The National, Graham Nash, Wayne Shorter, ALO, Ivan Neville, our friend Eric Krasno and Stanton Moore, Marty Stewart, and much more. Check out the latest version of Relics and subscribe now at relics.com/DMB. Thanks, Relics.
Hello out there.
Yes, hello out there, everyone. I'm Hal Schwartz.
And I'm Flynn McLean. Together we host None But the Brave, a podcast dedicated to the music and career of Bruce Springsteen.
Bruce and E Street Band are on tour right now for the first time in 6 years, and we're taking a detailed look at what's happening on stage in our bi-weekly episodes.
We've also been recently joined by some very exciting guests, including rock journalist Warren Zanes and Stephen Hayden, Backstreet's Magazine founder Charles Cross, and Barstool's Kirk Minahan.
If you're a diehard Springsteen fan, this is the show for you.
So please subscribe to None But the Brave on your favorite podcasting platform, and we hope to see you further on up the road.
Thank you so much. We'll be seeing you.